So one of the things that I hear when one of the things that I'm really interested in at the moment is uh we have this reality where, you know, even 20, 30 years ago, we all had more time because we didn't have this, right? We weren't on call constantly. We weren't constantly trying to keep up with what was happening in the same way. There was only the daily newspaper or the radio news or whatever. We didn't have this like constant barrage of information being blasted at us all the time. Um, 40, 50 years ago, we had, our mothers would, I don't know, my mother, one of the ways that my parents socialized was they used to go to ceilidhs, which were like community dances, very traditional Scottish community dances, or a marae setting where the people would sit around and they would discuss what was growing well in the garden. They'd talk about what they were bottling. They would talk about what was happening with
That's
the water.
so wholesome.
Yeah,
I don't I don't
it's a really
I don't know
different.
that America had that. I mean, I don't know that my parents had that in the same way. But go on. Sorry, this
Yeah,
is
but
great.
I think America probably had it like 80 or 90 years ago where, communities were uh you talked about, where I remember really distinctly at one stage, even though I lived in a suburban setting, the neighbor 5 houses down the road from them had 3 or 4 orphaned lambs in their backyard, and all the kids would go bottle feed their lambs. This is early 70s. And that was the sort of stuff that was discussed on the network of parents having a chat at the letterbox and all of those things. And everybody's friendships were very different. There was not a there wasn't a there was no urgency. There's now this what I'm hearing you when you're talking about the conversations you've had with your friend recently is there's a needy urgency for people to only show up to friendships to have their own personal needs met. It's not a lemniscate of care that holds space for two people. It's one person dictating what the friendship looks like, and the other person either choosing to agree or not be acceptable. And this is a thing that I'm hearing on repeat from my clients. I had a client today who's coming to terms with their childhood trauma. A friend of theirs, a close friend of theirs, said, "What's going on for you?" And they started talking about it. And the person went, "Oh, no, I can't talk about this with you because I need to get through my day." So what being asked what's going on, but being told, "Oh no, I don't have time for you. I haven't got time to hear you." This is like what, so how do we have friendships now? What do friendships look like when realistically half the time we have to schedule appointments because there's no other way to make connection? I feel like these are
So what are the things you think have given rise to that? Like maybe like one thing you said that has given rise to that is just the influx of types of communication, like the overwhelming barrage of both external media and then
yeah,
WhatsApp
yeah.
groups, your own
I mean,
little
how many
personal.
how many how many communication apps have you got on your phone?
Yeah, at least 10.
Yeah. So there's some that I'm not joining Snapchat because my 12-year-old's on Snapchat. I don't care. I'm not joining Snapchat. He can send me Snapchat things and I can see them in the browser, and that's enough. That's one I'm not doing. I have Viber and Signal and WhatsApp and Messenger and 3 email addresses, and or there's enough. And there's still a feeling of isolation, not because of where I live, but because of other people's capacity to communicate with me. A lot of people are
And the
waiting for me to communicate with them
mm,
because I'm
and then
high
the content itself
functioning,
too.
you know? I'm high functioning, therefore, oh, I haven't heard from you in a while. Yeah, you haven't. Feel free to like bake and cook me a meal or bring me a cake. But call first. That's the thing, is like, how do we need to negotiate friendships now? And is it healthier to do it that way? Part of me totally believes that it is. Part of me totally believes that it's healthier to negotiate a friendship in a really truthful manner of, I will show up for you. I know it's hard for you to be vulnerable, but I'm here for you in your vulnerability, and I will do my utmost to not let you down. And know that if I'm not doing okay, I will let you know. This is, do we need to have really specific agreements with one another to that has never happened before in human consciousness. That in the olden days, as I said, my parents would go to a ceilidh once every 2 or 3 months, and the woman would sit around the walls if they went dancing, and they would talk about who bought what for the shared plate, who bought the deviled eggs and what their recipe looked like, and they would talk about exchanging recipes, or my kid's grown out of that jersey I knitted, it'll fit your son. It was really like this, a different way of communicating that was a caring, that was very practical. Nobody was processing anything, clearly. We all know they weren't processing shit, but how do we do this now? How do we do this now? How do we lead the way and show other people how to have friendships and what that looks like? How do we do this? Somebody needs to do this, because there seems to be a lot of people feeling really lonely. A lot of people feeling really lonely, and a lot of people are making excuses as to why they can't show up, but not many people saying, this is how I will show up. Setting boundaries of like, well, I can't answer you on that, and don't expect to hear from, I can't guarantee that I'll get back to you, and I need to process in my, like, no, what can you offer? I don't want to hear what you're not offering. I want to hear, what are you offering? What are you bringing to the table as my friend, as someone who loves me? What is it that we can do here? Rather than this like neglectful, gaslighty, self-obsessed bullshit that's showing up in people in their 30s and 40s. I can't speak for those younger, but that's what I'm seeing constantly in my clients. How do we create a map for friendships for people so that it is like heartfelt and loving? How do we do that? Do we need friendship bracelets? Do we need to macrame friendship bracelets?
Yes, always. I mean, Taylor Swift has renaissance that for us, but I have so many like follow-up questions slash hot takes on a lot of what you said, and I think I want to make a blanket statement to say there are so many social innovation technologies, like small things that we can do to like up the quality of all of our relationships slash friendships. Um, and but I have so I just want to clarify though what I heard you say, like if we get back to the root of like what is unsatisfying now about it? Why are we in this now unsatisfying place? This place where we're kind of frustrated. Maybe we're feeling like we can't count on anyone, or people are unreliable, or do my friends recognize me anymore? Like, what, lots of people might be feeling a certain way about it. And um, I think I heard you say part of that is just like the degradation of social infrastructure, like places we used to go to have these conversations, even though it wasn't for processing emotion, just like being in connection with people and like sharing practical information and, being with each other in company, is now like, um, it's more scarce in a way,
Mm.
or we've gotten
It's
out of the
it's a
habit.
very much scarce, or it's contaminated. It's
Mm.
contaminated by being like I think about my own reality of one of my main social engagements for the last decade of my life living in a small community has been going to the marae and hanging out in a traditional meeting house where everybody does all the jobs. Everybody,
Right.
regardless of your age, does all the jobs. Everybody brings food, everybody does the dishes. There are protocols that are followed, but ostensibly it's a chance to catch up and speak to one another. How are your children? How's it going with that? How's your health? All of those connections and communications. But that has been commandeered by a Christian language group that's kind of taken over the reins of that, and it's changed the infrastructure of what's happening there. So it's no longer comfortable for a lot of people, not just me, but a number of the kind of uh, key people no longer feel safe there because this infrastructure, which is a very Christian based infrastructure, which is a language learning class, has kind of taken over it, and now they've set rules without consultation. And I think that's happening in a lot of spaces. Is that's what I hear you saying is your friend is offering you relationship with rules, their rules that they want to impose on you, and your rules are just not there. I mean, how do we negotiate with emotional terrorists?
Well, I don't think it's like, I don't want to um characterize it as malevolent. I think it's a, like you're saying, it's like a cultural
Mm.
flavor that, um there's a cultural flavor of taking care of one's own that sort of insulates us. There's a, like you said, isolation that gets created through media barrage and sensory barrage. There's all kinds of things, that are real, like we've said, real about the world, real about social connection degradation. And, all of those are cumulative. And so we are in a real moment of like, never has connection been easier, never has it been lower quality.
I,
Right? Like, it's
I,
the Timu. Wait, what do you guys call it? You don't have Amazon, but you have
what do we have?
in New Zealand,
We have
the one
Trade
from
Mate.
China.
Oh no, we have
Oh
we
no,
have we have AliExpress. We have
AliExpress. Right, right,
yeah,
right. It's like, we've AliExpressified
yeah.
relationships because we have to, I mean, and for good reason, we usually have to go through scheduling apps now to meet with people. Um, there's a layer of technology between us. I might use technology to date someone. I might use in all the ways. And I am very pro technology, so not anti technology here, but noticing that there is this layer of tech between us all. Like you said, it's right here. And that it just degrades the ways we used to be. Like, we have to make sure to keep up some of the ways, the ancient ways that connect
Some of
us.
the ancient ways, which include like noticing. So I noticed you have a band-aid
Yes,
and a cut on your hand. What did you do?
I do. Yeah,
It
I was trying to make banana bread and I burnt my thumb.
was the banana bread good?
No, it felt like such a waste. I was like, I'm gonna make it extra protein and put 3 eggs in. And just FYI, right now the cost of eggs is like redonkulous
Yeah,
here.
we're seeing it
Uh,
here for you
yeah,
guys.
yeah, and so uh, I was more upset that I'd used 3 eggs in the recipe than the fact that the bread didn't turn out. But anyway, thank you for asking. Thank you for noticing me.
That's the that, but that's, I mean, that's what connection looks like. It's like, oh, I notice that's really simply. I notice you're wearing the hat that I bought you. It makes me, that brings me joy. This is, we have an amazing unwritten agreement that we show up for each other. We haven't had to uh there's nothing contractual, but you know that I'm going to show up for you.
So I think actually you just raised like a really, I just want to like shine a little spotlight on that for a second, because we may not have written it down, but we have explicitly articulated it to each other.
Mm,
Like we've had conversations about it. And so I think, I don't know, I would say like you've hit on one of the ways we have friendships now, which is we have to be intentional about some of our, really intentional about some of our conversations, which doesn't mean we can't also just fuck off and be weird and watch bad TV and whatever and
yeah.
like stim on
Or,
our phones or
us
whatever.
sit on the couch and ignore one another on our phones and have a great time together.
Totally fine. Yes, yes. And we're able to do that and slip in and out of that because you and I have set all kinds of boundaries with each other. And we've also had difficult conversations, which is another aspect. It's like number one is just having the intentional conversations. And then number two, I think, is like being able to have intentional disagreements or arguments or tough stuff. And then you stay in the conversation together and you get through it. And it's like, you keep getting through it
And I think
like
there's
a
a key,
marriage, like a
yeah,
marriage.
there's a key there because one of my most valuable friendships in my life that's been a long time friendship has gone through uh, uh, the need for two people. I've been conflict avoidant for my entire life because God girls don't cause trouble. And one of my current important relationships has gone through a time of having to face a painful experience and having to agree to move beyond that and have difficult conversations, and most importantly to make an agreement to make time to spend together that is fruitful, that is nourishing, that is important, even if it's an hour a week. And that's one of the things that, um, my intention for one of the things I would like for you and I to do each time we meet together is, I don't know how to take a screenshot on Zoom, but take a photo of us side by side,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. I'll do that right now.
so that we can have like this catalog for the next, I don't know, 30 or 40, 50 years that we're going to be alive together, of us sitting side by side in this way. And that goes in my journal, in my Meg journal, and writes down the wisdoms, the pearls of wisdoms that we come up with. That's what I've agreed to do with my friend this morning. I woke up and said to her, she sent me a message saying, thanks for our walk. It was really cool. And I said, from now on, I want to take a photograph each time we go on our Sunday hour walk. And when I get back to my car, I want to write down a couple of sentences so that I have a book of wisdom that comes from that friendship that may have only be of value to me, but it makes it more intentional if I choose to integrate those images and the beauty of the languaging that we use together, that we can sit together and we exist in this other place that's, I can go here, this is what friendship looks like to someone else. This is the wisdom. This is the wisdom that I gain from choosing to show up, choosing to have relationship that I don't walk away from when it gets hard. Because what I know is so many people walk away when it gets hard because they don't feel like they have they don't have the skills. Who's teaching people to have the skills to have relationship, particularly men, right
Well,
now?
yeah, that's a whole other episode. Like I
It's
feel
a
like
whole other, it's a whole other
what we've
lifetime.
for better or worse, what we've probably been talking about is more feminine to feminine relationship, or
Yeah.
female friendships, or um yeah, and I think there's, yeah, obviously it can get it's a lot more complicated than yeah. We could
Yeah,
spend forever talking about it.
it's a huge and
But
complicated subject, but how do we make a, I don't know, I don't want to, my idea is not to create a set of affirmation cards on how to have a friendship so that it becomes something twee, but to actually have a deep and meaningful understanding of what is the value. What is the value of having loving, kind, honest connection in our lives? And what does life look like when we don't have that? Because what life looks like when we don't have that is painful. It is the age of being in communion with others.
yes,
We're in the age of Aquarius, the age of, it's no longer the age of the individual. We're in the age of being in communication. How do we do that through the psychosis that the world is currently experiencing in a way that, uh, when I know it's our day that we're going to talk to each other, I'm excited for that when I wake up in the morning. How do we teach people to make it not a chore? How do we teach people to make it not a chore, to make it um, without providing them with a set of cards that ask the right question cards, because that's not true communication. But I feel like there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of that new age faux how to be in relationship and connection with others bullshit going on. That's not what I'm talking about.
it's about finding alignment and common spaces between you. To me, I just see it all as building fabric, like
Mm.
building social fabric, building social connection. Friendships are the building block of that. Friendships are, I mean, I think they're more, sometimes vastly more important than our families of origin. Our families of origin, you
So
know,
much, so much more important than that.
they create us and launch us into the world, but our friendships are what sustains us and builds our identity and builds our world. And so, like, I'm just noticing like the wisdom that you already have shared today around, like, if you make quality time with the people that you love and care about, and they make time for you, doesn't matter what that quality time is, as long as it feels authentic and you're in it. And if you commit also to having the meta discussion, having the boundary discussion, having an agreement discussion, having a discussion with your friend about the relationship, about the friendship. Like, people don't always do that. They take it for granted, or you grew up in school together, or for whatever host of reasons. But making the thing explicit is so important. And
I think that might be
yeah,
what's missing. I think that might be what is missing in the current. It's like relationship junk food is constantly available by sending people memes, or if that's all your relationship exists of, that there's no look me in the eyes and tell me how you are. No, how are you really? It's just ticking the boxes of, I have people I'm in contact with, I have people I care about, and just defining that line between and I know you and I both have friends that we caretake more than have a a healthy relationship with, people who want us to um be a certain way, show up for them a certain way, and uh exist for their comfort. That's not a friendship. I have a lot of older ladies who, I exist for their comfort. It's uncomfortable for them when I can't show up for them. Like last week, having hospital appointments was inconvenient. And, you know, and that, this thing that happens in friendships of like, so I was telling one of my old lady friends that I had to go and have an ultrasound because constant bleeding after 5 years of not having a period apparently should be something that I should be concerned about, failed to be concerned about it. Got told it was
Just
concerning.
pushing on through.
Pushing on through. I told one of my old lady friends that I wouldn't be showing up to have lunch with her, and she went, "Oh, well, my daughter-in-law that she's had blah, 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 and, she's on the list for her." It's like, did you hear me? I'm not asking, I'm not asking for someone else's worst story. I'm just asking for you to hear me. I'm not asking you for you to fix it. I'm not asking for you to reassure me. I'm just telling you that this is what's happening for me. But that's a really common theme. And I think that's how a lot of people know how to communicate, which is not genuine. It's not making connection. It's just like,
It's reaffirming their idea of separateness.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Because
it's
there's like, well, this is how it affected me. This is, yeah.
yeah, I think that there's so much to be learnt at this time in this world age about how to be in loving communication with others. That it's okay to say that you love someone, even. And that's so uncomfortable for so many people. So uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it's also uncomfortable for people to hold like I love you at the same time as I disagree with,
Yeah, it's
or we're
very
having a tough
uncomfortable.
moment together, or we're
Yeah, it's
having a tough moment together, and it doesn't have to be forever. But yeah, I just see also, a lot of people kind of ghosting other folks in their life, and um, without interrogating it, without having the meta conversation. Unless you attempt to have that conversation, I feel like it's a cop out. And
yeah,
sorry, I'm just turning my camera off because my internet got bad again.
yeah, it's really I feel like there's deep lessons about our self-worth when we show up to friendships. And most of us have been raised uh, to believe that the only way that we're good is if we make everybody else comfortable around us. Um, there's something really valuable and healing in having a relationship where showing up as your true self, how you are with whatever's going on in your life, in a friendship, in a relationship, even in a workplace relationship, of not trauma dumping but honesty. And I think that there's a lack of value around that reality of what honesty means.
Ooh, this reminded me of something you were saying earlier. So it actually prompts me to ask you about the connection between what you just described and friendship and uh self-responsibility, or shall we say
Mm,
radical self-accountability, because I also feel like that's a building block here we should be talking about that enables us to have these more robust friendships. Or that's my hypothesis. Do you want
yeah,
to talk about
that's a
self-responsibility?
huge it's a huge part of this reality of um, so many people keep their vulnerable self hidden because of toxic self-reliance. And toxic self-reliance is very different from radical self-responsibility. Toxic self-reliance looks like, oh no, I said I would call Meg and I didn't make time for it because I'm too exhausted, and making up the fantasy stories about how mad you are with me, how angry you are with me, rather than just reaching out and saying, hey, I'm not doing okay. Sorry that I let you down. Can we make another time? Which is taking responsibility. But so many people are stuck in that fantasy stories about what a terrible person they are and that they're going to be rejected at any moment, that there's not even space in their head for, showing up as the fool, showing up as the fool, showing up with all your own knowledge that you've gained through your lifetime and that rucksack on your back, with that personality under control, so that those stories aren't what's overtaking you and paralyzing you in your life. On a journey, willing to show up on a journey with someone else, taking responsibility for your mistakes, your inactions, your truthful capacity to show up in relationship, rather than being paralyzed by the I'm not good enough story that we've all been fed, that social media still feeds us.
Well, so where does that deep lack of trust, so lack of self-trust, where, so are you saying that is originating from, well, obviously, yes, social media kind of proliferates it and amplifies it, but I'm not sure it originates that. So where does
No,
that like
I think that's
distrust of self come from?
I just think it's trauma. I think that's a trauma response, and for um uh particularly for women and LGBTQ plus people in this world, because the world is still under a patriarchal system of oppression. We are still fighting with the need to be good, still fighting with the need to identify ourselves as a good person through the charity work that we do, how we show up in our community to help feed the homeless, or to how we can drive 3 miles across the city to deliver a meal to a friend who's unwell. Our need to be good and to be seen to be good has usually come about from the trauma of this patriarchal society, and compounding that with whānau family trauma. I think that that's where that has originated from. Social media exacerbates it. And as we are going into this, as we're navigating this extinction burst that we're currently in, there's a lot of people who are collapsing into, I want to use the word patheticness, and not in a judgmental or demonizing way, but just into falling into a helpless heap, rather than, do a mirror meditation, look at yourself in the eyes, find where your self-worth is, find where your failings are. I'm totally aware of the people in my inner circle is quite small. There's not many people in my inner circle, and the next group out in my social circle includes my medicine woman spiritual community, and there's people who are reaching out to me wanting my attention, or wanting to make connection with me, that when I look at myself in the mirror and go, have I got time for that? Have I got energy for that? And do I want that connection and relationship? I can make a decision based on not on myself, whether giving those people what they want makes me more valuable or not, but on whether that enhances my life. And that's not selfishness. That's resource management. I think that's a tough
So
one.
yeah, well, I want to actually like there's a little bit of a paradox here. Like on the one hand, we're saying we want more connection. We don't want junk food connection. We want more quality connection,
Yeah,
more high quality connection. Um, we want to make time for it. We want to stay open to it. These are all the things I'm hearing you talk about. And yet I'm also hearing, and yet we might be choosier than ever. We might be more
oh,
discerning, more
we have to
more
be aware of it, of
uh
the,
and, and more disciplined about um yeah, what is the right connection for us? What connections and what friendships will feed us and grow that trust we have in ourselves rather than diminish it.
yeah, yeah, very much so, very much that reality of, earlier you said, ride or die friends only. And
Right.
that's it.
Yes.
That's it. I had someone message me this morning. They messaged me last week asking for a catch-up time. We're not close friends. We're part of the same cohort, spiritual cohort. Um,
Hmm.
when I look at that, when I look at myself, well, I read the email of the second email, can we catch up this week? Um, I was just finishing my ritual practice. I looked at myself in the mirror and went, is this relationship, what is this relationship bringing for me? What is it bringing for me? What do I, what do I learn from this? What is the nourishment from this? I feel like, going back to that conversation is I am the Tamagotchi pet. Where's my enrichment? Is this enriching me, or is this just feel like a pressure that I have to yield to because they're part of the same cohort as me?
Mm.
Is it nourishment and enrichment, or is it a pressure? And if it's a pressure only, then the answer is clear that that is not where I spend my time. And I spend my time with um, people who I'm happy to listen to my friends whinge and have a bitch or be a mean girl briefly, but not if that's all there
Right.
is. Not if that's the only thing there is. We're allowed to be human, but if that's all there is, then there's no nourishment for me there. And um, my time is valuable, not because I'm special, but because everybody's time is valuable. And
Well, yeah, I mean, like, who hasn't learned that since COVID?
a lot of people, a lot of people are still running around like headless chickens, looking for life to be like it was BC before COVID. Sorry, Jesus, it's not how it works anymore. Um, uh, a lot of people want things the way they used to be. I don't want things how they were in the 70s. There's parts of what we talked about earlier about those ceilidhs, those social gatherings that my parents would attend. I don't remember a lot of them. I remember one in particular very clearly. Um, that some of that would be really nice. Some of that would be really delightful. I don't want to do the gay Gordon. I have zero desire to learn that.
Wait. What is that? Wait a minute. What is that? You're
The
gonna
gay
have to explain
Gordon's
that
this
to
really
the
weird,
American.
it's a really weird Scottish partner dance to Scottish country dancing music that you kind of swap. I think you swap partners, not in a sexy way, but in a men wearing kilts and women wearing tartan sashes type of way.
So,
Um,
not dirty dancing.
not very much not. You have to look up the gay Gordon after this. It's one of those things that we actually learnt that shit at school instead of learning how to do a GST return, which is slightly problematic. or how to change a tire. Let's learn how to do the gay Gordon instead. Um, some of that nourishment from those social gatherings is would be valuable. I don't want to go back to in no way do I want to go back to a time where uh, that type of oppression that existed then and that type of racism and prejudice that existed at that time was, but there are parts of that I look at and go, oh yeah, a wholesome gathering of families where people freely dance together that isn't alcohol, disco lights related is wild to think about now. It's a wild
Yeah.
to think about now of all the men dressed nicely, all the women dressed nicely, all the kids dressed nicely, and the lights being on and everybody dancing um, in a very specific manner was I look at that now and go, why wouldn't that happen now? That wouldn't happen for many reasons. And part of it is because when people are in large groups together now, they're doing this.
Yes, they're looking at their phones. But there's also this like the community vibe has shifted.
Oh, it's just
Um,
that's that extinction burst that we've talked about before. The hatred is loud. The hatred and the suspicion is loud. It is so loud right now. There's there's not the there's not like that underlying goodwill. It doesn't exist anymore.
mm,
I mean, it exists for
yeah,
us because we're loving and
we
kind
cultivate it.
and we make sure we cultivate it, but in general communities and that community that I grew up in now I grew up in a very poverty stricken social housing, and now that's like the derelict area of the city that I grew up in. So those social conventions that once held that area together and kind of kept it with a heap of nice little activities like that. Um, I just think about the what has changed, and what has changed partly is the reality of I don't know if did you ever experience lolly scrambles as a child? Did you ever experience that, like, I don't know, adults with bowls of sweets just yeeting them in the air and the kids scrambling around to pick them up?
Oh, okay. So we would in the US use a piñata. So
Yeah,
it would be a
yeah.
piñata.
Yeah, so we used to have lolly scrambles, and then one day lolly scrambles were banned because of health and safety regulations. It's like
Because kids were smashing their skulls together.
I don't think anyone died from a lolly scramble, but like the insanity of that, the insanity of the level of control that came down from that patriarchal system is wild. It's like we can't have a lolly scramble. We can't just like throw some sweets out onto the field and let the kids. It's not fair because some kids get a lot and some kids don't get any. That whole everybody has to be a winner shit is part of that, and the health and safety thing that is so wildly, we need health and safety so that we're not all drinking poisoned water, but some of, some of the social gatherings that have occurred in the past wouldn't be allowed to occur now because of the change in the level of control that society dictates that we have over us, which has led to separation, isolation, and loneliness.
Mm. Well, I think what you're really suggesting here is that lolly scrambles are our way out of this. And
I
I'm
totally believe that
glad.
that's true. I'm gonna reestablish Wally Scrambles as a legit practice for adults and children because I would like that.
Yes. I mean, but I actually think you don't get the ticket to the Lolly Scramble until you've learned the gay Gordon. You laugh now, but don't think I won't make it happen.
But yeah, and I'm
And
already ahead because I know how to do the gay order.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. My takeaway here is we know how to do this. Our ancestors did it. Our ancestors danced together in if not in unison, in community. And they
And
didn't
Meg,
all
in
and they
the
didn't all like
light,
each other, and that was okay. Sorry?
in the light, that's the thing. They dance together in the light. That's an important difference here is because when you go to nightclubs and you see people dancing together, it's in the dark. They danced
Yes.
together in the
Good call.
light and they witnessed one another.
Mm,
And that's what we
mm.
do. That's what you and I do in our friendship. We dance together in the light and we witness one another in whatever state we show up in.
And
And
you're reminding me that in my last community retreat, we did a silent retreat or a silent disco in the daylight.
in the daylight,
And
dance
and it
together
was
in the
great. And there
daylight.
were little babies dancing, and there were elders dancing, and everybody in between. And yeah, I mean, it would have been so much better had it been accompanied with a lolly scramble. But no one has told me about these, and I've now, been to New Zealand numerous times, and I think that our friendship can handle it, but I feel a little betrayed that we're now in March of 2025 and I'm just learning about the lolly scramble. Um
It's such a
and
wild reality that that is it's never occurred to me that like,
I might not know
I
what
thought
that is.
honestly some of the highlights of my life were lolly scrambles because due to my
Fuck
brother
yes.
so due to my brother's hyperactivity which used to be controlled by no processed foods, no food coloring and no preservatives. That was the time when I got to like just eat all that shit. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Wait, you basically siphoned off his junk food allotment? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, it
You
was
got
just
the
like
lollies he couldn't have?
he was allowed to too. It's just like nobody like tried to impose their restrictions on us during those times. And they often happened at my dad worked for the New Zealand Post Office, which at that time was a bank and telecom and it was like telecom, the bank, and something else. It was like all of these, it was one big state-owned company. And every year there'd be a Christmas party. And Santa would come with a pillow sack full of sweets and just like throw handfuls out onto the rugby pitch and we would just scramble for the
Ugh.
sweets. It was just like absolute best wildest time. I don't remember anyone getting hurt. I'm pretty sure that nobody died from any of those.
Okay, so I just heard another that this will be our final requirement for this session was I heard it's okay to take some risks in your friendships. Like
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay to take risks.
it's okay to take risks and be a little wild. But dancing and I think, for me that image of dancing in the light is there's something really important in that. And knowing that that's what you and I do. We dance in the light every time we have a discussion. It's like we show up, we are willing to admit when we don't know something. We're willing to ask. I'm happy to ask you to teach me the steps to the not gay Gordon that you learnt in high school, the ballroom dancing that you may have learnt in high school. Did you not
That
have
I
ballroom
don't, I
dancing in
mean,
high school?
no.
What is wrong
But
with my country?
um I think, your country has like part of its personality is a little antiquated.
Very much.
It believes in an olden time. I mean, I also grew up in the 70s, so I'm not that far removed from your experience, but I will tell you, we did dance square dancing, like country line dancing
Yeah,
kind of stuff in gym class, in PE, in
yeah.
school. But that would probably be the extent of where you would do any kind of like group dancing, unless maybe you were, yeah, no, square dancing. Yeah,
We had to
I don't
do,
know.
I remember being an intermediate, which I think is your middle school. And I've been this height since I was 11. I'm tall for my generation. I'm 5'9". I'm tall for my generation. And I remember we had to do partner dancing, ballroom dancing as part of our gym class. And like the
Yeah.
boy I had to dance with was like here. It's like I was the giant. It was just so excruciating. It was so painful. And I can hold my own on the dance floor if I ever have to go to a ballroom dance, which I can't see happening. But in saying that, I live in a rural area that is pretty much 1950s, and I know that they do actually have community dances occasionally, but they're church related, so I've not showed up.
I mean, this dancing might be a way for you to become even more radical than you ever imagined and infiltrate. I mean, what you may have done is just like alert everyone who's listening to this to your secret weapon, which is your masterful knowledge of the gay Gordon. I mean, you literally just betrayed this whole thing, and now you're gonna go to this function and like it'll be like Saturday Night Fever. You'll just like wipe the floor with them. Everyone will be like, like mopping their foreheads and yeah, like what just happened? What just blew through here?